Hope you're doing good today. I just want to make it clear that on these videos, I'm sharing my experience as a transracial adoptee, Mexican, adopted into a white family that was never taught my race. And I'm sharing my experience as that, and take it as you will. Also, I'm just sharing my research from everything that I've read on adoption. This video is basically going to be for adoptees that have been taught to be grateful and not acknowledge the loss of their biological mother and the need to grieve and how vital that is to healing and growing as an adoptee. There cannot be adoption without relinquishment, without a mother giving up their child. If nobody has told you as an adoptee that you have lost your mother and it is okay to grieve, I want to tell you that you have lost your mother. You have been separated from your mother at birth, and it is okay to feel the need to grieve and grieve if you need to. Now, there has been a lot of adoptees that are in the fog that say, I don't care about my biological parents. I don't need them. I don't think about them. I would highly suggest, I'm not telling you anything on what to do. If you say things like that, I highly recommend a self-analysis, because that's how I found out after 39 years of my life, not knowing what this internal thing was inside of me that I thought was depression and me being ungrateful. I thought that it was something other than it was, when it was the need to grieve. Now, I highly suggest, there's a video on this playlist for adoption recovery steps, which translates into relinquishment recovery steps, but everybody understands adoption a little bit better. Do the self-analysis and just see what you can come up with. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to do any damage. It might make you think a little bit more about everything that adoption comes with. Everybody's situation is different. That's why it's a self-analysis. It's not something I can tell you, but it's a 100% fact. All adoptees have been separated from their biological mother at birth, whether it's immediate or, whenever. But if you are adopted, you cannot be adopted without being separated from your mother, father, bloodline, a lot of other stuff that goes along with it. Birth certificate, sealed medical records, last name. I was personally born into a white family, or adopted into a white family. I didn't have anybody that looked like me, talk like me, act like me, felt like me. So it was very strange. It's called genetic mirroring. So losing genetic mirroring also is very hard to understand for somebody that's not in that situation. So try the self-analysis out. The need to grieve is one of the most vital things. The need to grieve your biological mother, the loss of your biological mother, father, and other stuff. If you have even met them, I know I had a reunion with my biological mother at age 21, but it's like it's going back to the moment of birth that is covered up by adoption is beautiful, that makes it so confusing. Even after I met my biological mother, I still did not feel healed or whole. It solved a question for me about what she looked like, what she was like, and I'm so happy that happened. But it didn't help me grieve the loss at birth, when we are abandoned, when we as babies are taken away from our biological mothers and put into the hands of what we think is strangers. No matter how much they love us, my parents love me, I love my parents, but to me, they are not my biological parents. That's not to be mean, that's not to be offensive. It's just, they weren't the ones that we spent 9 months inside of, and we were looking forward to meet as a baby. There's going to be tons of research in the description box below, but this video is very important to me. I had nobody in my immediate family, nobody professionally to tell me that I needed to grieve, or that it was okay to grieve the loss of my biological mother. I am almost 40 years old, and I still find myself on days grieving the loss and being abandoned by my mother, because it's so vital and and primal, I mean, it's so in my nature to just feel rejected, look through the lens of rejection. It's just like, I don't want to say it's part of my identity, but it's something inside of me that it happened at birth, and I could just tell it's there. It's hard to explain, but that's why I put tons of research. And there's a guy, Paul Sunderland, I don't remember his name, but I'll link him and I'll pin his comment. But he has a great video explaining it. Basically, adoption is seen as beautiful because you're giving a kid that isn't wanted a home. So everybody's very happy. They call them lucky. They say they should be grateful. If they have any issues with it, you're not allowed to have any issues with adoption. Basically, that's the message. When adoption covers up the relinquishment, it's kind of overlooked. Like, everybody thinks that because you're getting a new family or a different family, that be chosen by somebody that loves you somehow, that covers up the fact that you were genuinely given up, even though it could be for great reason. Your mother did it out of love, wanted you to give you a better life. It doesn't take away the fact that the interest for an adopted child, or any child, the interest for a child is to be raised by their biological parents. And when that doesn't happen, somehow people get the idea that their best interest is to give them a family that loves them, which the child does need that, and it's a foundation to be brought up in a loving home. But without the knowledge of it's okay to grieve your biological family, you can easily get unintentionally gaslit to believe that you need to be grateful for your adoption and never be taught that it's okay to grieve the loss of your parents. And it's just strange to me how that's the narrative, because it's a business and they need to have that narrative. But everybody in America already knows, anybody that loses their parents that has a funeral, everybody knows it's okay to grieve. Everybody's around there grieving and saying their condolences. But with adoption, it's like, hey, I feel really sad. I lost my biological mom. This loss is really profound to me. I feel really depressed in my adopted family. Everybody starts yelling at you and getting mad and saying you're ungrateful. Are you not thankful your parents parented you? And there's comments on my channel. You can go back and look. I made a video about the adoption loss is most profound loss, more than death and divorce. And people took that as me being ungrateful, when in fact it's okay to be grateful for your adoption and be grieving. But most of the time, grieving is not even an option for us, because I went around asking everybody, like therapists, my parents, my friends, everybody's answer is like, well, aren't you grateful to have them? And they get kind of mad at me and like offended that I would have any sort of issue with my adoption, because I could have been in a worse situation. And that unintentionally makes me feel like I'm being ungrateful. The grieving that's inside of me never gets acknowledged. And then now I'm 40 and I'm just now learning to grieve and let those emotions be seen and felt and heard, because they were never acknowledged. And this isn't to say anybody's doing it maliciously. This is saying that we need to start acknowledging both the gain of adoption and the loss of biological family. And that's completely normal. It's completely okay. And it's not to say that I'm ungrateful or that anybody's ungrateful for missing their biological family. So I hope that I made that point clear. A bunch of books that I recommend. Adoptee's Coming of Age. Primal Wound, that explains the loss very well. Being Adopted, that's a really good one. It Takes More Than Love, that's a Christian book, but she goes into the importance of race and not being colorblind. My parents raised me as being colorblind and not seeing color, and they raised me in Georgia, which was a horrible, awful experience that I'm still traumatized over. I'll explain that in another video, but I hope that you know that it's okay to grieve. I hope that if you're an adopted parent raising an adoptee, this doesn't scare you away, or looking to adopt. I hope this doesn't scare you away from the fact that, oh man, these adoptees in need of homes, They have so much issues. Like, if you want to adopt, it's better to know and how to help a traumatized child that may not understand how it works. But look up other videos, look up research, adult adoptees that are out of the fog, adoption fog, that are speaking of the unacknowledged trauma. And it's really sad, you know, because we're taught as a society to think that adoption is beautiful, and not taught that a human being has lost their biological family and much more, like medical records. And I just really want to be a voice, because I've had no voice for 39 years. So I hope this video helps. I hope you have a good day, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments.